People, Deluded, I'm back again. I hope you're all better yet, well and safe on this Friday morning. I hope you're all in good spirits, whoever you are, wherever you are. Sadly, Arsenal are not in action over the weekend. We get back to things in the FA Cup on Monday, 8 PM kickoff against Bournemouth. So there's not much to speak about. I've come through some talking points and things like that online, people, and I've actually found some more since I've started this video. But yeah, we'll come across all of them. So let's speak about Mustafi, or Mustafi's agent. He has said he's having a difficult time in London, but he's not someone who spreads unrest into the team or club. If something good were to come now, we would think about it. We're not going to hell looking for a change. It must make sense and a fit for him. Now, I'm not going to go over Mustafi and the sort of player Mustafi's been at Arsenal. You know it. In short, I will say is that clearly he needs to move on. Clearly he's not someone that we can rely on or move forward with in any capacity. But it speaks volumes that he has to be utilised, whether that's because of lack of options or because of injuries. He should have been moved on. He's contracted until 2021, similar to Danny Rose at Spurs. Why? Of course they might want him leave and stuff, but they're earning decent money. Similar to Mustafi, Mustafi's in London, he's got a young family now. Based on what you see on Arsenal.com and the videos and things around it and stuff you hear, Mustafi is, you know, a fairly liked guy in the change rooms. You've got to think about that in your work perspective, people. A lot of people think about it in life. If you get comfortable, you're more likely to stay at a job longer, whether you're excelling or not, or developing or not. Think about it in a working environment, people. If you're here, you know, you've got the best commute to this job, you've got your family nearby, your yard's not far, you're good with all your family members, your contract is good, and things, you're not going to force the issue, are you? You're not going to force the issue. The only way the issue is going to get forced is if Mustafi continued to have no looking in any capacity. I do think a part of him wants to leave and move if the opportunity becomes available. I do think the majority of him wants to stay at Arsenal and isn't going to force the option. You've seen Turkish teams linked with him. You've seen Bundesliga teams linked with him. He's here until 2021. There needs to be a push to move him on because he has been one of the disappointing signings of recent, to be fair. I'd say this because many people obviously look a bit funny now, but and it weren't exact. People weren't saying it's like Van Dijk from Southampton to Liverpool, but Mustafi definitely had a better standing in world football prior to him actually, you know, playing a long time at Arsenal. Because people, myself included, were saying we finally got a centre half that's levels with Koscielny. He's aggressive like Koscielny. They could find a partnership there. He's on the youngest sort of side and all of these things, and he's been a disappointment. There's a handful of games he's played well in, and he generally throughout his Arsenal career, to be fair to Mustafi, there has been spells where he's looked all right, but often than not, just the calamitous mistakes against insert almost any team, the missing headers, the diving in, the poor decision making. Just, I'm not trying to critique the guy, 'cause I've got great sympathy for him, but I don't think he's going to force the issue to move on, especially when you see the sort of content regarding him that's coming out of Arsenal.com. What I will say in relation to him, though, is he deserves the right to go somewhere or play somewhere where the fans want him. Like, I'm not saying fans are not, you know, pitchforks, but clearly Mustafi wouldn't be here. He's clearly error prone, and he makes mistakes time and time again, but mentally he looks scared. If you're scared, you're going to make more mistakes, and someone like Mustafi, that's a calamity. He earns the right to, you know, go somewhere and enjoy football again. I don't think he enjoys his football right now at Arsenal, and why would you? So yeah, man, it speaks volumes in 2020 really that Mustafi is an Arsenal player and he's starting, and that says more about the club than it does about Mustafi, because we're at the point now, you're not even blaming Mustafi. You got to, why is Mustafi here really? No disrespect to him. Moving forward, Van Persie, who's not short of having things to say about his former club. He makes comments quite frequently against Manchester United, and he's spoken about Arsenal, or specifically Arteta. He has said, I think he's doing well. I do believe that he needs time. On and off the ball, they're working harder. They seem to work harder. So you can already see his hand, but he just needs more time really to get them going, I think. And that's completely different to his Unai Emery comments. So and I completely agree with Arteta with these comments. I think Arteta's going to do some good things. He's naturally going to do some bad things. As any manager, you do make mistakes, but I think it will come good. What we need is Arteta has to be supported from the board. In the same way I've just mentioned Mustafi, Arteta's the head coach. Of course, he needs to be consulted for sporting decisions, but clearly someone like Mustafi isn't here long term. So the board need to be, or had to, for time, but need to be now. Okay, cool. The summer's looking like this. We're moving him on. We're finding a resolution to Lacazette and Aubameyang, and we've got contingency plans according to everyone, according to every scenario. If Laka leaves, what we're going to do. If Aubameyang leaves, what we're going to do. If both are going to leave, we need a centre-half and we need a centre-mid. Clearly liaise with Arteta because it intertwines, but he's a head coach. He needs to be just worrying about the tactics and all of these things from on a football field. The least he can spend on transfers, the better, and he is a head coach. He's not a manager, so he shouldn't have to deal with transfers. Same way he went and grabbed Martinelli. Go out there and grab him as centre-half. Go out there and grab him as centre-mid. Go out there and, you know, deal with what's needed to be done with contracts and things like that. So that Arteta purely can just focus on football matters, people. Moving forward, Nicolas Pepe, who I believe, I wouldn't say turning a new leaf, because he's still not necessarily the best player on the pitch, 70 million sort of stuff, but it's like he's not going to be able to justify that price tag. I think he's settled in well. I am seeing some positive signs from Nicolas Pepe. Obviously, you want to see a bit more. Obviously, there are certain things he could do less of and more of others, but I think he's looking okay. But Pepe himself has spoken, and he has said, things since Arteta came in have been going positively so far. We've got some good results and I've been playing good football. Subjective, them two comments there, my guy Nicholas. But he said, there's been certainly some encouraging signs and we know that we do have the quality and we know we have what it takes on the pitch. Now, I believe these comments were before Chelsea. He's also said, we want to do well as an attacking force. We want to perform well on the pitch, score goals and get assists. As a team, it doesn't matter who's getting the goals and who's getting the assists. But the most important thing is we are playing together and getting results. We support one another on the pitch. And as an attacking player, it's always great to have someone like Mesut Ozil feeding you passes. It's feeding passes into you, so it's enjoyable. And that's what Pepe has said. But in relation to Dani Ceballos, you've seen him allegedly through whether it's lack of minutes, worrying about the Euro place, or just not happy at Arsenal and his minutes under Arteta and all managers. He wants to tear up his loan spell and he wants to move. You've seen Milan linked Milan are linked with everyone. You've seen Betis. You've seen quite a few clubs. And I do think he hasn't played much football. He's been injured and whatnot, but he hasn't played. And when you're halfway through the season, you've barely played a main part in Arsenal's thing. Like, you would have thought he was someone that would have been leading the charge to us getting top four or challenging in the Europa League. He's done okay in patches, but he hasn't been allowed to show anything. And I will say he can feel hard done by that. And Arteta, I don't know if Arteta necessarily rates him because he's bigged him up before, but there was some recent comments where he said he sees him as an 8 and he sees him more as a 10 than an 8, which implies, you know, you're going against Mesut and Joe, who look ahead of you in the pecking order. But he's also said he was fit, but I decided to leave him out. So does he not fancy him? Is he waiting to see something in training? Does he genuinely believe Ceballos isn't up to the standards of other midfielders? Does he just not fit Ceballos, not fit his system? Does he not fancy him? You know, these are all legitimate reasons. But for Ceballos, I will say at this age, at 23 years of age, he needs to take some responsibility because there's a reason he's not a main player at Madrid for all the managers he's encountered during his couple of years there. Regardless of what you have to say negatively or positively about Freddie Ljungberg, about Unai Emery, or about Arteta, these are three managers who none of them seem to really fancy you. I've got great sympathy for you under Emery because a lot of attacking players, you know, they couldn't do their thing, but there's no smoke without fire. You can feel hard done by, but what are you not showing managers? Because you should be the first name on the team sheet in this Arsenal team. You've gone for winning Champions League at Real Madrid. Some of these players have won stuff in their careers, but they're not of the standard. The dressing room, the club, the levels, there's no comparison between Real Madrid and Arsenal. We should hear this and be begging you to stay and things like that. And as much as I think Ceballos is a great player technically, it's not necessarily the end of the world. Obviously, it's more money wasted if it does happen. It's 4.5 million down the drain. Another poor January loan signing to go with 5 million Dani Ceballos. And Spurs fans are laughing right now because it looked like we beat them to that signing, and right now it's like we saved them a bullet. And that Lo Celso done starting to play okay, but he played alright against Norwich. But the good news is apparently Madrid. I don't think I have them here, but I also saw some reports. Apparently, people that Madrid have sympathy. Basically, they have great sympathy for Ceballos, but they don't want to ruin their decent relationship with Arsenal. And he's the one that picked. While they agree that, you know, his situation isn't ideal. He's the one that picked Arsenal, so essentially it's down to him to fight and bide his time. And those close to the matter describe an operation of cancelling his loan spell and then moving on as difficult and complicated. Because obviously, regardless of Ceballos, just as a body, we'd be losing another body in midfield or creative midfield, which would leave us at a disadvantage. You're relying on Ozil. Ozil's had some good games under Arteta. His potential last 2 games, he's been very anonymous. Joe Willock plays in that 10 and gives us the energy. I personally am not convinced, not by his ability, but him in that role. It's chalk and cheese. I don't think the final ball and the creative thing is Joe. I think his thing is in a pivot, box to box, strong running, little passes here and there. But what do I know, innit? And obviously it would leave us light because Emil's gone on loan, regardless of if you believe he's ready or not. You'd be relying on Ozil and Joe. I know Nelson can play there. Technically could probably force Lacazette there. There's a couple different things we could do with the squad, but if we don't be technical and we look at it just, you know, just basic level, we'd be losing a man in midfield and it put us at a disadvantage. For what it's worth, according to Dioras, I believe a Spanish journalist, he has said Arsenal won't allow Dani Ceballos to terminate their loan agreement and want to keep him until the end of the season. Mikel Arteta may not be using the player now, but that could change over the coming months, and that's down to him to change that. I understand why he'd want to go somewhere where you're assured minutes. He wants to go to the Euros, but it's down to him to change that. Apparently, a meeting is taking place between the agent of Dani Ceballos and Cesar Sanchez, Valencia's club director of football in Valencia. As I've already said, Ceballos is keen on moving to Valencia, and 2 other clubs have expressed interest in him. Added to that, Ceballos was coached by, I don't know why it says this, by Calades during his time as Spanish coach and during his time assisting Lopetegui at Real Madrid. Valencia would like to sign him should he leave Arsenal, so we'll see how that one develops. In relation to Arsenal's centre-half search, apparently, as you lot know, we want to, Shakhtar Donetsk want 30 million for Mikola Matviyenko. His agent says we're in talks, and obviously he's played twice against City. Arsenal would prefer a centre-half on loan. Whether that's feasible or not is another thing. Apparently, Arsenal's formulator to sign him, that's just come out of Ukrainian-based publications. We want to sign him on loan for £4.5 million with an obligation to purchase him for 22 million in the summer. So very much that cash converters, that Bright House, pay in installments, we pay later sort of thing, with mad interest sort of thing. But yeah, we'll see how that one develops, people. Really and truly. Keeping up with nonsense rumours, apparently, despite Aubameyang's encouragement to Barcelona to make a move for him, there isn't a lot more he can do to force his exit, as he is club captain. Arsenal are reluctant to sell this month, so it remains a complicated operation. Obviously, Denis Suarez is injured. Luis Suarez. And it's also said, this is from Le Temps Sport, Aubameyang has indicated to Barcelona that should they make a move for him, Aubameyang has indicated to Barca that they should make a move for him. And finally, with the things I've got on this page, it's a bit irrelevant, but you've seen us linked with Jerome Boateng on loan previously, but apparently Bayern Munich are considering a summer move for RB Leipzig defender Upamecano as a long-term replacement for Jerome Boateng, which to join someone that could offer him, winning a title, potentially winning Champions League. It is something. He's obviously have a year to run on his deal, so they'd have to sell him, and this is someone linked with Arsenal. A lot of Arsenal fans wanted to see, so you're a bit pessimistic in regards to us getting him. Away from this, and I'm going to put a video in the description with my other vid, Balogun, our young striker, 18 years of age, and I've previously said there's a couple of players that if I was a foreign team, a German team or whatever, and we're looking at English prospects and stuff in today's market, Balogun is someone I'm looking at because of his situation at Arsenal. If he scores goals for fun at youth level, he will develop to a good standard. Obviously, being a top striker, a top young striker at these sort of clubs, it's a melting pot. I do think there's something wrong if this club cannot make 2 of the 3 of Tyrese, John Jules, Eddie and Balogun first teamers, whether someone's a regular or both in the side. That's a thing. They all should be bringing in 15 to 20 million if we ever want to sell any of them, minimum really. For us, I want to keep Balogun, but if I was going around top 6 teams, he would be someone I'd be trying to get, people. Same way I would said Conor Gallagher of Chelsea for the new deal. He bags goals for fun. When you're a top striker, he's going against Lacazette and Aubameyang. He's obviously going against his peers in Eddie, Tyrese. They're all fighting for a name on the team sheet. He's 18, hasn't quite yet made his debut at first team. The pathway, you could say, is blocked, and he's got 18 months left. I do think he needs to play senior football. I don't want to see Balogun playing under 23s football next season. He needs to go on loan or leave permanently where he can test himself against grown men and whatnot. Because he scores goals for fun, his link-up play is good, he can naturally develop, and I think that development accelerates some serious acceleration if he goes somewhere where he can play football. I've previously made a vid that at some point he'll need first team football, and you've seen today apparently we've rejected a £5 million bid from Brentford for his services. AC Milan and other clubs are interested. If he became available, he would not suffer from a lack of suitors. For Brentford, it makes sense. He'd probably go, maybe not immediately join their first team. I think he'd train with their first team, but he'd join their Brentford B sort of setup, you know, where they've got elite young players that they think they can sell on for profit or progress to the first team, and they play a bunch of fixtures against good teams. I think he would be there with a long-term eye on stepping up into the Championship for them before, you know, not before too long, which would be decent for him, because you see what they're doing with Dominic Thompson went there, he's doing okay. Jay De Silva's making good headwings playing for them. He would join his former teammates with that. I would have thought 5 million would have been up Arsenal street. Now we shouldn't really sell him, but he's got 18 months left. I would have thought £5 million for a player when you've got Tyrese, John Jules and Eddie, two young strikers that might step up in their own right. £5 million for a guy who's never made his debut. Potentially put a sell-on fee there, and you're kind of covering all your aces, similar to Amichi's deal, regardless of if we wanted Amichi to go or stay. But the club probably looked at it, and in hindsight, they've been backed up. We're bringing in Martinelli. We've got Saka. We'll let Amichi go. He doesn't want to sign a new deal. We'll get an okay fee, a couple mil, and we'll get a sell-on fee. And I think that's something up Arsenal street. I don't think Balogun should be sold. I think it's very interesting seeing all three of these young strikers develop, and I would keep him and try my best to keep him. People, I don't want Balogun to leave, but it is what it is, and I think him and his agent and advisors, they've got to make a serious decision in the summer, because again, he's 18. He doesn't need to be a finished article, but I do think playing under 23s football is beyond him. And you saw he's finished a volley the other day, people. Thomas Lemar rumours are back, people. Apparently, more or less, Atletico have to move him on in order to sign Cavani. Allegedly, apparently Cavani's got a 2-year contract in the works. Apparently he's being offered around the Prem previously, like I've said, and according to Marca, he could be joining Arsenal this month. And especially if Ceballos goes, you can see what I think Thomas Lemar would be good. Might be able to get him for a cut price. If we can have him playing to his previous standards, he's a decent player. Can play a couple of roles in the central midfield positions, and can also play out wide. And he's not the oldest, so there's also good. He complements the side well, and there'll be some flexibility in that regards, people. So we'll see. It looks like that Guimaraes guy, Bruno Guimaraes, is joining Lyon or the Atletico, depending on what day it is. But apparently Arsenal were never in for his services, allegedly. David Ornstein finally has had something to say. He said, positions I last heard, it was a left-sided centre-back, a left-back and maybe a centre-mid. He said he's not quite sure regarding Matviyenko. Apparently, again, as you know, Ceballos is still unhappy with the situation and is very hell-bent on somewhat departing the club and obviously changing his personal situation and playing some football, people. Finally, Santi Cazorla has said, I don't know if it's possible or not, but I want to play one more game for Arsenal before I retire. It was a deep regret that I could never have a proper goodbye. Arsenal was the biggest club I ever played for, and I'm proud that I was an Arsenal player. I'm especially grateful for the Arsenal fans who supported me even after I left the club. I wish I could be part of the Arsenal family in the future again, and I hope you can too. And he's also said, people, I believe on Arteta, he said, I believed he would make a good manager in the future. Even when I was playing with him, he showed great leadership in the dressing room. Some say it's a gamble for Arsenal to appoint him, but I believe it's a reasonable challenge. I believe he can become a great coach. It's not easy for any manager now to be like Ferguson or Wenger. I can't anticipate how long he'll stay at Arsenal, but I believe he can make a great career at Arsenal, and he's a proper one for Arsenal. Who's cutting all the onions? I would love Santi Cazorla to play a game, man. You know what? Schedule that testimonial at the Emirates. He deserves it. Santi, I'm not too sure on on what you have plans for the future, because I mean, it was the right decision to potentially let you go. But you know, when you've been playing well against Barcelona and Real Madrid, and you've been ever fit for Villarreal, it looks like it's been flipped on its head. And in our current form, you could have probably found a role. If you have any management, you know, possibilities or coaching, then you need to return home. We need to get the gang back together, Santi, and you need to return home. I don't know who's cutting onions, but I'm feeling a bit teary after hearing that about Santi. So on that note, people, Deluded, I'm out. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. God bless, I'm out.